everybody? We're not in school anymore, but we're still around.
Amen.
And I'm glad to be here. And I don't know exactly what you want me to tell them about school, but I tell you, we need some education. And we need some people to try to help get the children educated. And we're going to need some, whatever is necessary to get them on the right track. And so I heard Mr. Wright had so much to pay last week in that paper. So then I called him. I wanted to know just what was going on and what could we do about what was going on and how we can help the children and the community, let the people know what we need to do as citizens. And how we can go about to help them. And whatever necessary we can do, we'd like to be able to do it. And we'd like to see our children go forward. And as you say, we get educated and we need a job. We need a job, and if we don't have somewhere to work and something to do, we'll be lost. So we would like to have everything we do to help our children. And whatever we can do, we're glad to help them. And I worked for 42 and a half years working with students and parents. And I'm glad about it, and I enjoy it very much. And I am enjoying my retirement. And I'm glad to be here this afternoon. Thank you.
Lord, I want to be like her when I get like that.
All right here we're going to deviate from the agenda. We got some pretty important people sitting up here on the panel, and we wanted to open up for question and answers. And please, like I said, keep in mind that we're going to move towards a direction. So we're going to do this after the break for lunch after. So if you all have some questions or concerns that you would like to express to the panel or myself, please do so at this time, and we will do our best to answer. But like I said, the primary purpose is to hope that we could come up with a solution to some of the concerns that we have. Mr. Terrell and then Mr. Quarter.
I'd like to take about 2 minutes and tell you that it's not only in the Afro-American community. I got a stepson and his wife, the hardest working people in the world, but they don't have a budget. So I'm paying for the education for those 3 children. I have a little 7-year-old daughter, her granddaughter, that's my heart. I'm paying for her to go to a private school. She's always made an ace, never made less than an 8. She calls them on the telephone Monday morning. Papa, I want to be a cheerleader. I only need $200. I saved the $50 you just sent me. Would you send me that? Boy, I thought of anything. I said, that's no problem, dear. I'll send it to your mother in the morning. Then I went to have lunch with her the next day, about 200 miles, a little better than here. And I talked to her teachers. And I said, should she be a cheerleader? Now, everybody wants this little girl to have what she wants. That's the problem. That teacher said, no, sir. That little cheerleader, when she gets away from that A model of being an A student to being a cheerleader who wiggles her butt, and you might not like that preacher, but it's a fact. You want them to go sound to school like my daddy said. I let you not allow you today to go to school, and you would use your mind to get an education. And I'd almost forgot that. So when I got through talking to her mother and father, and her to let her know I loved her, she wasn't going to get the $200. She was going back to making eggs.
My first question is, this document that you all keep referring to, where is it online so we can all get a copy?
Well, this is the document we're referring to is the current analysis of impediments for the city of Valdosta. We haven't put it online yet, have we, Larry? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It has to be presented at HUD first.
Okay, it has to be pre-approved and then we can put it online, but it's not online yet. Council approved, but it hasn't been approved by HUD yet.
But John, the old one that was done
It is online.
is online.
Where is it?
You have to do a Google for it. That's where I got it.
It is, and you can go to the City of Valdosta webpage and you can find it there too, John.
All right. Yeah, that was my main question. I was happy to learn that the digital divide has dissolved. it's good that a lot of people know how to play games on their cell phones. And in fact, who knows, there might be a local business opportunity in that if there's particular kinds of games that people around here like to play. There's lots of other similar communities that you might be able to market games like that to. Somebody invented them. But on the other hand, local business cannot get fast internet access here. You may be wondering, what's he talking about? We can get Mediacom. Sorry, that's not fast internet access like you can get in places like, a lot of people won't like this name, Chattanooga, or Bowling Green, Kentucky, or even Thomasville. And that's a problem if you want to, for example, start a high-tech business, or even start a business that needs to communicate with lots of places around the world. And I noticed that a lot of people around here don't have computers, and if they want to use the internet, they go to the library. Now, I love the library, but it would seem to me that while smartphones are great, but there's lots of things that you need to do on the internet. For example, uploading and editing videos that are very hard to do through a smartphone. I mean, I'm astonished that George here managed to get done not everything that he does. But if we had fast internet access everywhere, more things like what he's doing would be possible. And there might be businesses related to that. There's also businesses related to sports, as George Cage at the Parks and Rec has demonstrated. Titletown is a great title, but there's a lot more that can be done to exploit that, to turn it into more businesses. And as you know, I have thoughts about solar, but I'll save that to later, except to say, I love Corey Copeland's comments about individual responsibility and how we all need to set examples. But there are some issues regarding solar energy that no individual can solve alone, because there are state laws that prohibit doing what can be done in 46 other states. And the local leaders of the community, including the Valdosta City Council and Lowndes County Commission, could help convince the legislature to change those laws, making possible all this fabulous sunshine we have in South Georgia. We can turn some of it into jobs right here.
Thank you, John. Bob Robinson, then Senior Servant Road.
Good evening, everybody. One of the things that I come in is that the natural disaster is something that's very devastating to our city and to everyone here. And some of the most great minds in this city have come together today and to be able to formulate something. And I believe that we're working together to help find some solutions to bring about a resolve to some of the problems that we have that's so devastating to all our communities. The right minds, I believe, that gives us room so that we can concentrate and bring something together that will be able to work.
Thanks, John.
I want to address this question after I make a statement to Roy Copeland and to Sam Allen. I boarded a plane a couple of weeks ago for Toledo, and I noticed that when I got in line, they told me to take all the change out of my pocket and put it in a tray. They told me to take my wallet that contained my credit card, my Social Security card, all of the valuables, money, put it in a tray. Then they told me to take my belt off, held up my pants, put that in a tray. Then they told me to take off my shoes and put them in a tray. And then they allowed me to move on. And when I successfully passed through the metal detector, they gave all of my valuables back, and then the man smiled and said, "You may proceed now to the plane." In 1954, when the Supreme Court decided that segregated educational facilities were inherently unequal and demanded that the schools desegregate with all deliberate speed, we were told, black folk were told, to put our history, our culture, our values, our interests, our tastes, everything that made us who we were in a tray. And then, before we boarded this plane called integration, they never gave it back to us. Now, we can kind of act like that's not important, but the truth of the matter is, people who don't know who they are, don't know where they came from, cannot compete in a society that is multiracial with other people who do know who they are, do know where they came from, who have their taste, their interest, and their own values. I said all that to ask, why is it that before 1954, when black children went to schools in their neighborhood, were taught by teachers who lived in their neighborhood, who looked like them, who loved them, and who had a relationship with their parents, why is it that those children learn, and they learn a lot better and faster than the kids today, and there was hardly anything called a dropout rate?
That's actually an easy question to answer, Brother Rose. And the answer is, how many of you all know how to do calculus?
Could you repeat that?
Have you ever taken calculus? Okay, I thought. One reason is because many of those kids had what I had in my home, a table where everyone did their homework, and they did it every day. And although your parents during that time may have had a first-grade education, they made you sit at that table for a time, and when you got through, they at least looked at your homework. I've got 8 years of post-high school education, and I can't do calculus. But my children thought I was the best calculus teacher ever. The 4 of them took calculus and passed it, A's and B's, but only because at the conclusion of the 2 hours they were required to sit at the same table and do their homework, I at least looked at the problems. You've heard of faking it until you make it? Your children don't know if you can grade a paper or not. But we do know one thing. If they make an effort and the teacher's able to check that effort the next day, they're likely going to move on. That's what's lacking, Brother Rose, in my humble opinion.
Amen.
To give you my 2 cents on this, I think that what has occurred since the 1954 decision is that we have failed to teach our children about their heritage and about their history, and we are depending on someone else to do it. When we start looking at black history or white history, we don't have that in our homes anymore. Kids don't realize the struggles that a lot of our parents went through because they're on easy street. As Mr. Taylor said, when children want something nowadays, if they holler and cry and scream loud enough, they will get it.
Praise the Lord.
But what has occurred over the integration period is that a lot of our African American friends and parents have thought for just one moment that they have arrived. But they have not arrived. When they go to the bank to borrow $1,000, they find out that they have not arrived. We sometimes believe that since we're able to migrate into middle-class neighborhoods, that we have arrived. And as a result of that, we no longer teach our children about Rosa Parks, about Dr. Martin Luther King. And we expect the schools to do it. Well, that's not the school's responsibility. That's not something that they pick up in textbooks. That's something that they should pick up at their homes and also in their churches and in their communities. So in order for our history to be promoted, every racial group that I know of promotes their own culture. Every one of them. So why can't African Americans promote their culture in their own way? So sometimes I think that it's our fault as an African American that we believe by either being true or not true that we have arrived because we've got a few initials behind our names, and we've got a little bit of money in the bank, and we've got a fine car. But if we look deep enough, we're one payment from being in the poorhouse.
Thank you, let me follow up with that before we take the next question. Solutions. And we talked a lot about the problem, but solutions. Mr. Board is here when I was running for political office, and he and I talked, and he mentioned the fact that maybe we should look at some of these infield lots where we could set up satellite computers and stuff like that in the neighborhoods, so that our children will have access to computers and stuff where they could get education. Many of these families that we talked about, we mentioned this earlier, are single family parents, and the mother is off, or the father, whoever, is off working, and it's very hard for them. I mean, I can guarantee if they could do everything we talked about, they would do it. But it's very hard for them to kind of do that, and that's where we as a community, I feel like we as a community through satellite stations and other things in our communities where we could assist and help these children who need it, is a way of us reaching out and helping those children. Because we got a lot of variables here. We can get into a lot of things, but once again, offering positive solutions to what we could do, because at the end of this meeting, that's what we will be doing, trying to talk about, to summarize this, talk about some solutions, and then moving forward in a positive manner. And I hope that the meeting will stay there on a positive note. Anybody, well, who are the two over here? Ms. Osborne and Mr. Brooks.
I've been a social worker in this community for the better part of 26 years. And I worked with the Homeless Coalition. And when I was doing that, I found a lot of people don't believe we have homeless people in Valdosta, which is crazy. We have a lovely climate here, so people can live in the woods and people don't see them. I had a sheriff tell me when we were trying to do a count that there were no homeless people out in the county because his deputies kept them moving on. A quote. Not true. My point is, one of the things we don't want to hear about and we don't seem to be pushing for is you can't do this without money. Our libraries are seriously underfunded. And on the other hand, we have a hugely high literacy problem in this county. Very, very difficult literacy problem. We have children that don't see a book until they get to school. There are some agencies trying to help with that, but it's all private. The Homeless Coalition is private. LAMP is private. All of these organizations, we say we don't want taxes, but you know, if we have a few more taxes, the county would have some money to spend on agencies, which they've about quit doing. The city would be able to do stuff more than just what the federal money that comes in. And there are a lot of generous people in this community who I think would partner with well-planned organizational efforts to try to improve what's happening. When we had the Weed and Seed program, we had wonderful after-school programs with the grannies in neighborhoods. Unfortunately, that went away. But those kind of programs have worked. The community gardens, a lot of the things we had before have worked. Some of that requires some ongoing effort.
Thank you, Ms. Osborne. You're absolutely right with your comments, because I didn't realize there was homelessness in our city was as bad as it was. I clear a lot sometimes for a living and ride a big brush cutter. And I was in the woods cutting, and I happened to look and I saw a tent. I said, what is the tent doing there? And I switched the tractor off and I heard a radio. So I walked over there and there was somebody there with a recliner, a tent, and everything that's living. So we do have a problem of homelessness in our city, and it's something that we do need to address. Your comments about the grannies in the neighborhood and other thing kind of goes back to what I said, but I'm hoping, once again, at the end of this, that we, and I think Dr. Robinson said some of our best and brightest minds are in this room right now, we could come together and start formulating strategic action plans that we present and say these are the things that we feel like will help our city move forward. Mr. Brooks.
I more or less want to make a statement. And a statement maybe will answer some questions and hopefully they bring about more questions. I remember when they first took the Lord's Prayer out of school and corporal punishment out of the school system, and that was a big board. And the devil rushed in. Amen. And that's part of what we got to deal with. We got to hit the nail on the head right now, because you can't leave God out and let we do it. We just became a society that want to do things without God. And I know there's few people saying this little 2-cent work here, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to come to mayor. I didn't quite make the bid, but that's not going to stop me from trying to help make the city the best city it can be. And when we decide what we want best for our city, we got to include what we want best for our children. And we're going to have to start making sure our kids get an education, true. But that education got to be based and founded on the ground of God. because they're not loving each other anymore. They don't know what love is. I got it on my car. I'm gonna ride around that sound of my car until we make a difference in this city. We're the adults. We're the leaders. We're the responsible for other people's children, whether you like it or not. And until we can stop, if we can stop the violence and provide a safe learning environment for these kids, we will motivate those kids to want to learn just because we got them pushed in the right direction. They're lost, and we cannot educate a child that mind is not on what he's doing. We can talk about education all day long, but if we don't get that child focused, he's not or she's not going to be motivated to learn anything. And that devil is going to teach them how to get by, quick and easy. And that quick and easy way, we know it's not going to work. They're going to wind up going to jail. We can put laws in place, I know, and do things. When we get done, these kids don't have one way to go, and that's the right way. We can cut back on all the crimes that we went to school, they taught us to get a job. But they didn't teach us what to do with the money we make. Most people don't know about investing and how to invest. So that's one thing we can do with the school system. We got to really educate the kids on what they need to know. They need to know God, which is love, and how to love themselves and others. Competition is okay with me. It's okay to have competition. But you don't have to kill somebody over competition. People have gotten killed over little or nothing. But our kids are learning to kill somebody over little or nothing. So we're talking about making Valdosta a better Valdosta. If all these great minds in here right now, if we come together and make the right decisions, I wish the mayor was here right now. I wish more councilmen were in here right now. I'm not trying to down anybody, but let's just be truthful with ourselves. I gotta watch out for your kid as well as my kid. Because your kid and other people's kids might decide to destroy other people's kids. I see the kids with the pants below the butt, black kids, but I also see, just one more statement, I also see white kids that start wearing that pants below the butt. So we got to unify ourselves if we want our kids and community to excel.